I can give you my government name, I can tell you my occupation, but I don't think those things are an accurate reflection of who I am as an individual. I'm Paul, and I perform. I write poems. You pick a topic on anything you can possibly think of, and I'll write your poem in 7 minutes or less. A big thing, when you're a street performer is it's very important how others see you. You need to be, at least what I try to do is make myself as approachable as possible. That way nobody is too afraid to come and talk to me, because I want people to talk to me, And then I usually Lyft or Uber wherever I need to go. And then I set up. Why a typewriter? It's a very bizarre concept. It forces you to mean what you say. On top of making my poems a lot more frameable, presentable, and it also kind of adds, it's like my shtick, It's like, people, they see me, they're a little interested, and then they see the typewriter, and they're like, what the hell is this guy doing with the typewriter? That thing's 80 years old. So I think the typewriter is to serve two purposes. One, to improve my art, and also to have more people come up to me and start talking to me. I wanted to speak publicly at my school. I love speaking in front of others. That's one of my favorite things to do. Overall performance. I say I love poetry, but I love performance more. Poetry is kind of more a medium that allows me to perform. When I first started, there wasn't really a lot of opportunities at my high school to publicly speak, but there was a poetry slam. And I was like, okay, well, screw it, I'll write a poem. I want to talk, I want to speak publicly. And so I wrote a poem for the specific purpose of being able to publicly speak in front of my class in high school. My creative process, if you were to give me a poem about a snail, that was a topic you gave me, I wouldn't just start, making observations about a snail. I would think, okay, first I'd become the snail. Okay, what is this snail feeling? What is the, what does the snail want? What does the snail have to deal with? What are the struggles of this snail? And then I would go on, I would probably write a poem talking about, from the snail's perspective of, working really hard towards your goal, but seeing very little progress. A lot of people think that creativity is something that just comes from the head. Yes, oh, creativity, yes, I have it now, but that's not true. A lot of artists will figure out that's not true. What I think is, and others have spoken about this as well, is that the true route to creativity is riddled with limitations. The more limitations you have, the easier it is to choose a direction. And once you have that direction, then, it's, for me at least, and I think for other artists, it's a lot easier once you have that direction. The first biggest challenge was government. When I first started, I was able to perform in Winter Park on Park Avenue. And after a while, they decided, the city and the Chamber of Commerce, that it was a danger to public safety to have street performers, which is just crazy. And so I was moved. I was forcibly moved. I was detained by the police a couple times. I was forced to go into the designated freedom of speech zone. And now, so you might be wondering, and all of you might be wondering, wow, if you're going to ban street artists, you have to have a really good reason to ban culture, right? I mean, you're literally banning someone's form of self-expression. There's got to be a good reason, right? Well, if you go into the ordinance, the real reason why they banned all street performers, no singing, no dancing, no painting, nothing, no public composition of artistry, because public compositions of artistry can create crowds, apparently this is according to the city, not me, can create crowds that would be too large for emergency personnel to penetrate if they were trying to assist someone in an emergency. If people, were gathered around me while I was writing a poem and there were some firefighters trying to get through, those people would move out of the way. Okay, this is common sense stuff. But the only reason they want you to go there is to spend your money. That's it. They don't want you to express yourself. In fact, they'll even take you to jail if you express yourself in the way they don't seem appropriate. So And that was really disheartening for me. So that was a big challenge, trying to overcome, because I was told that, hey, according to 15 people, you don't have a First Amendment right anymore. And I thought it was really ridiculous. And, you know, I was being treated like a criminal. You know, the officers would come up to me and they would start like taking pictures of me and stuff, and asking like, what's it for? That for Facebook? And I'd be like, it's part of the investigation. So that was a big challenge, is finding a place to perform. You know, I thought this stuff was like a public danger. Suddenly, me reciting a poem isn't dangerous if I'm paying the city $200. And so that was a big challenge. Well, now I work, I finally found a venue that hosts me. They have me there. So I had to go, I just had to work a lot harder. After the band, you know, I had to, because I had to go in different locations where there weren't as many people. And so I would have to work twice as hard for twice as long in order to make the same thing that I would. Because again, I quit my engineering job. You know, I used to be an engineer. You know, at a startup tech company, and at the same time while I was like performing and doing poetry, there was like a little time overlap, and then I realized that this is, you know, poetry is really, you know, the most fulfilling thing I can do. So I'm just going to do it full time. And then right after I quit my engineering job, they passed the laws that made it illegal for me to perform where I was performing. And so I had, you know, I just had to work a lot harder. I had to try a lot more. The band, what it did was, it made it harder for me to perform, and then I kind of had to like double down on like why I was doing what I was doing, because it was like man, like I quit my engineering job so I can like work like in this heat. Like this was a terrible decision, and I had to overcome that mindset that I made the wrong choice. That I should have gone, you know, with the salary instead of working for myself. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I do this, is because, you know, my poems have a greater impact and will go much farther than I ever will. I've saved marriages. I have people, if you go on my Facebook, you'll see I have like 3 different messages, like Paul's poems like saved my marriage. I've done wedding proposals, you know, where a guy like proposed through his wife through a poem. I can't do anything else now. I'm screwed because like, you know, this is the best job. If I'm making something, I'm happy. And so whether it's like a poem or a robot, like I have to be able to make something. And so autonomy, personal connection, and creation. Those are my 3 biggest needs. And poetry, or at least the way I perform poetry, is, the way poetry fulfills those things, like nothing else can fulfill me like poetry can.